Welcome to the company of Women International. I've got a great deal to present to you today on the Beauty from Ashes TV show, and I have with me a Bronze Star member. He happens to be a neighbor, and I'm so delighted. We've been parking our cars beside each other for a long time. And this is, you're a retired Sergeant Jimmy Pitts, is that right? And he's from Caroline County here in Virginia. And finally, I got up enough courage to ask him if he would talk with me. Because as you remember, I went to Fort Lee and interviewed a very nice young man, Vigil Quenser, and it all happened on 9/11. And so when Jim said he would talk with me on camera, I thought this is just a perfect thing. But then he went and changed his license plate, and it makes it a little difficult for me because he has on there McGuff. I love it. But I really like your license plate with the Bronze Star on it, because that, when the first time I was aware of that, I thought, well, that is so good to see. Now, I know not many people have a military background, so to me it was special. And I can see why you may have wanted to change, but I hope you go back to that other one sometime. So, Jimmy, I want you to tell me a little bit about yourself. Now, you told me you were from Caroline County, and you had had a tour of duty in the service. You were in the Army. You also told me that you'd gone through the FBI school at Quantico, which is up there near, what is it near now? Not Woodbridge. It's closer than Woodbridge, isn't it?
It's in Dumfries.
Dumfries, that's right. So tell me what that was like.
That is an amazing school.
Uh-huh.
You can go there and spend weeks and never go outside.
Yeah.
They have tunnels and hallways and everything that's enclosed, and you just go from classroom to classroom inside of a building.
Inside of a building.
Yes. It's an amazing school. Excellent instructors. You just can't say enough about them.
Mm-hmm. And you went into that when you had decided that you wanted to do some investigative work, was it?
That was my, I guess, advancement into investigations. I did some investigations with the police department. Then when I went to the fire department, I was a little bit too old to be running in and out of buildings on fire. So I decided investigations was interesting, so that was my start.
It's kind of like curiosity killed the cat. You're going to find out what's going on when you're investigating, is that right?
Exactly.
And you said something about as long as it's a game, you've enjoyed it?
As long as you treat it as a game, people got stuff to hide from you, you're out there trying to find it.
Trying to find it. Well, he's really into doing that very work right now. He's working with GSA, which is the apartment complex, and therefore he has a very busy schedule working with them, and this, of course, is how I got to know him, because he's one of my neighbors. And how long did you tell me that you have been working with them?
I've been working with GSC for going on 7 years now.
7 years?
7.
Okay. And you've been here in Richmond now?
7 years.
The whole 7 years? You started here with them?
Right.
Oh, my. Well, you didn't show up here in this building.
No. I lived at another complex and then moved out here when GSC
Oh, that's right, when they bought it over.
Right.
I forgot about that. I'd only been here going on 16 years when this place was being built, so I knew. Prior to your going into the investigative work with and going to school at Quantico, you had been in service. Can you tell me a little something about that, and maybe your viewpoint of where you were in your, what do you see is good for the service personnel when they know they have the support from the people around them?
Well, I went in the Army in 1968, and it is completely different now than it was back then.
Yes, it is.
They have made so many changes, and back then teenagers, one way or the other, you went into the military service for at least 2 years. You were drafted or you volunteered to go in. And my feelings are that back then, that taught you respect for your country, your family, and other people. Plus, it gave you a time to grow up. And
this is so right. Jimmy, I'm glad you're saying all of this, because you know, when they stopped doing that, our young people really lost something, because we don't have role models to follow. And try as we may, we parents have not done the best job in the world with raising our children. And with the changing of the social scene, where they have lost respect for authority. But at that time, when the young people were going in, they did learn something. They learned a discipline that our young people today have been robbed of.
Right.
Do you think that they would ever reinstate this again?
I don't think the young people today will allow them to reinstate it. They don't want it because it's too easy now to say, I don't care.
Yes.
You know.
You've got a point. Although I kind of raised my eyebrows when you said they wouldn't let them. Well, because they didn't necessarily let them in those days either.
No. I guess what I mean by that is, if one of your politicians decided to bring that up, he would probably either get voted out of office or run out of town. You've got
a point, because they are carrying a great deal more weight today than what our young people did back at the time that this was active, you know, when the ruling was active. Point to me some of the things, if you will, for those who may be listening, as the advantages of what that was as opposed to what it is today.
Well,
now, what I'm talking about, for those of you who may have missed it, is the requirement of coming into service, and what were the benefits that you got from being in service. Now, there's a downside. You can't do what you want to do. But point that out. Show them what advantages there are.
Well, it gave you a chance to grow up, for number one. And it led you along between the military teaching you how to live, and then your beliefs, whatever they were, you kind of fell back on those because you wasn't at home with mom and dad. And so
you found out really what you did believe.
You found out what you really believed. And then when you go to a place like Vietnam, and today like Iraq and Afghanistan, you really find out what you believe. And you find yourself praying more and talking more to God than you do at home if you stayed at home with mother and father.
It's the old story again, is that God doesn't necessarily want to have to cause a man to go to his knees, but it seems as if man won't go voluntarily bend his knee until he gets in a real tight squeeze.
Exactly.
He has nowhere else to go. And like you said, in Vietnam, there were some tight squeezes, and that was needed to be done. But then your comparison with Afghanistan and Iraq at this present time, it's the same situation. Same situation.
I have the greatest respect for all our troops over there.
Right.
You know.
And I think this is something that we want to call attention to, is that our young people are over there. They're defending their families, they're defending our country, and you and I do not want to be AWOL, that's absent without leave, praying for these people. We need to be praying for our government, for our president, and those that are in authority over this nation, but for our troops. I mean, they're risking their lives. We need to ask ourselves, what have we risked? And Jimmy, you know firsthand what this is like. Is there anything you'd want to just share with us in regard to that experience that you had?
Well, I guess it taught me, being a country boy, it taught me actually what I really believed in. I grew up in a real small church, and we had a congregation of about 20 people.
Okay.
And when I was in Vietnam, when we went to church or had a chance to go to church, we had 300 or 400 people.
Yes,
And
different.
you found out who your brothers were. You know, color didn't matter.
That's right.
Anything didn't matter. You know, you were there. You were brothers. Yeah.
And that's exactly what the Lord says is to be the case. It's not to be any division, is it?
Right.
And it breaks down the division that's within us, our own carnal nature and the human nature, as opposed to what our spiritual nature is. He makes us one man, doesn't he? It's amazing what can happen. How long were you in Vietnam?
I spent 2 tours, 2 years.
2 years there. So, oh, yes, you mentioned that you had a brother that was over there too.
Yes.
You want to tell me about that?
He was there when I went into the service. I actually went in the day after Veterans Day.
Did you
I
really?
did. And,
that would be, what, the 12th?
the 12th of November. Got on a train in Richmond and
That's my birthday.
all the way to Georgia.
I was born on Veterans Day.
And I guess one of the greatest memories that I have of me and him was when we met in Vietnam.
Gosh, yes. Did he know you were coming?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
He didn't know that we were going to be assigned together, but he knew I was coming over.
Now, isn't that an awesome thing? You know that was no accident.
No.
It was no accident. So what was the units that you were attached to?
The first tour, I was with the 25th Infantry Division, 2nd 22nd Mechanized. And my second tour was with the 11th Armored Cav.
Okay. And they were out of where?
Cu Chi, Tay Ninh, Long Binh.
Just in
those
the
areas.
midst of it all, huh?
Right in the middle of it.
And you went back a second time?
Right.
Did you volunteer for that?
No, I didn't. But I guess it was just meant for me to go back a second time, and it was different being with a different unit. But again, I made a lot of new friends, a lot of experiences that changed me that I will never forget.
I am sure of that.